and Vidant Health. Each speaker will introduce themselves, including their name and title and role today. Brian, please start.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. I'm Brian Floyd. I'm the president of Vidant Medical Center, and I serve as Chief Operating Officer of Vidant Health Hospitals. It's a privilege for us to be able to tell our story here today. The medical center itself here at Vidant Health in Greenville, North Carolina, is the only level 1 trauma center on the eastern seaboard between Norfolk, Virginia and Charleston, South Carolina. It's a part of Vidant Medical Center, a 974-bed academic medical center, one of only 4 academic teaching hospitals in the state of North Carolina. It is so large in a small area because it serves a region of about 1.5 million people spread around eastern North Carolina in a very rural environment. It serves about 1.5 million people. The landscape in healthcare has changed. Our mission hasn't. What we do is improve the health and well-being of people here in eastern North Carolina through an evolving healthcare system. 9 hospitals, the large quaternary hospital, plus 100+ clinics in eastern North Carolina where we see patients everywhere from home health to the tertiary center. Along with that, it takes a lot of people and a lot of technology and skill to have a level 1 trauma center of this magnitude. Everything from helicopters to ambulances to a team of dedicated physicians that you'll hear from today who are incredibly skilled, as well as all of our staff that make this happen every day, and we're so proud of the work they do. But they do it because people in times of crisis need us to be at our best 24 hours a day and every moment of every day. And the story you're hearing today is just one example of how this system comes together for such a large region in a moment of great crisis. We're proud of all the team, doctors, nurses. We are home to more than 3,000 nurses here at this medical center, and they are incredible, and you're going to hear from one of our nurses here today as one example of that. What we do every day is make sure that we bring all these resources together with high quality, with experiences and outcomes that matter. And we're very proud of the work today, and we're thankful that you're here for us to tell the story of how Vidant Health has served eastern North Carolina in a time of great need of one family.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Eric Toshlag. I'm a professor of surgery at the Brody School of Medicine at East Carolina University. I also have the pleasure of being the trauma medical director at Vidant Medical Center. On the afternoon of June 2nd, Paige was attacked by a shark in relatively shallow water at Fort Macon State Park in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. She suffered what proved to be a devastating injury to her left leg and significant damage to her hands, particularly to her left hand. She was removed from the water by her father, and he will recount his frank heroism in that instant. She underwent placement of a tourniquet at the scene, which proved to be life-saving. She was then transported by our East Care Aeromedical team to the trauma resuscitation area at Vidant Medical Center. She received packed red blood cells and fresh frozen plasma transfusion en route in the helicopter. On arrival to the trauma center, Paige was alert, conversant, incredibly calm, and frankly courageous. My partner, Dr. Nicole Garcia, and the trauma team activated the massive transfusion protocol as Paige had lost a significant amount of blood. Unfortunately, it became immediately apparent that her left lower extremity had sustained profound tissue damage and was not salvageable. She also had significant tissue loss to her left hand, as well as significant damage to her right hand as well. She was taken urgently to the operating room, where she underwent amputation of her left leg at the level of her thigh. She also, at that time, underwent debridement of tissue from both hands and control of hemorrhage from both of her hands by Dr. Ziri's team. On hospital day 3, she returned to the operating room for closure of her amputation and additional surgery on her hands. I will defer to Dr. Ziri, our Chief of Plastic Surgery, for additional description of what proved to be multiple and extensive surgeries on her hands, particularly her left hand. Currently, Paige has no additional surgeries planned. She is doing profoundly well, and we anticipate discharge to our rehabilitation center early next week. I would like to close by expressing my sincere gratitude to the trauma system, as well as to Paige and to Paige's family. As is often the case, when a young person incurs injuries similar to those of Paige, her life was saved by pre-hospital providers. Without the action of her father, who was at Paige's side, was able to beat the shark off of his daughter and then carry her, bleeding from her left lower extremity, to the beach. Without the actions of the pre-hospital providers at the scene, who placed a tourniquet on her left thigh, which was, again, a life-saving maneuver. And without the blood resuscitation by our East Care helicopter crew, there is no doubt that Paige would not have survived. I would like to provide special thanks to Paige and her family. For a young woman whose life was irrevocably altered in the span of seconds by what proves to be an exceedingly rare event, Paige has demonstrated extreme courage. She is polite. She has been forgiving, and foremost, she has been incredibly resilient. I would close by saying it has been a true pleasure and frankly an honor to care for Paige and her family.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Richard Zeri. I'm the chief of the Division of Plastic Surgery here at Vidant Medical Center and associate professor at East Carolina University School of Medicine. I'm part of the team that took care of Paige. These gatherings sometimes tend to be a little bit stuffy, so Paige asked me to lighten the mood a bit, and so I have a message from her. And it goes along with her gregarious and fun personality. And the message is for Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. And she asked me to tell him that she's a big fan, perhaps his biggest fan. And if he would indulge and follow her on Instagram, it's probably .page. And it is my expert opinion that that would probably speed up her recovery as well. So do the right thing, Iron Man. Getting to her medical care, though, Dr. Toshlag, I think, went over things in overview. And as you heard, her initial injuries were quite devastating. She was brought here. Her life was essentially saved and stabilized by the trauma team. She was initially treated by my partner, our pediatric plastic surgeon, Dr. Mike Guo, who took care of her upper extremity injuries, and in addition to the trauma team. She had, as you heard, very extensive injuries to both hands. And specifically the right hand had multiple cuts, lacerations. She suffered injuries to her tendons, her soft tissues, nerves, arteries, and required reconstruction. Her left hand was more significantly affected to the point that she had a traumatic avulsion amputation of her left fourth and fifth fingers, and avulsion of most of the soft tissue on the palm of her hand and over her wrist. As you can imagine from these injuries, they're quite devastating, functionally speaking, and they required, in addition to Dr. Guo's initial operation, I performed 2 additional operations, and initially we repaired most of her tendons, nerves, arteries, and then on the second more extensive operation on her left hand, we provided soft tissue coverage with a free tissue transfer to her left palm and to cover the missing soft tissue. She is recovering well. She's in very good spirits, as Dr. Toshlag mentioned. She's quite a young lady. She's very entertaining. It's been a pleasure to take care of her, and she will require very long recovery time, extensive rehabilitation, hand therapy, and I've talked to her about this already. It will be 6 months, most likely a year, of rehabilitation and hand therapy before she has significant function back, and to sort of know exactly how her injuries will play out and what kind of functional recovery she'll get. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brianna Springer. I have a BSN, and I have worked in the SICU for about a year now. I have had the privilege and honor to be Paige's nurse since she's gotten here. Almost every single night that I've worked, I've had her, and she puts a smile on my face every single time I walk into the room. Most people talk about nurses and how they impact patients' lives, but I want to do this in a different perspective. Paige impacted my life tremendously. She taught me so many different things. She taught me patience, resilience, determination. I remember the first night that she came in, the moment I walked into the room, I expected it to be a different atmosphere. I expected it to be a little sad. And when I walked in, she had a smile on her face. Her and her dad were laughing. And it wasn't anything that I expected. And my first conversation that I had with her, she told me that she's not mad at the shark. She's not mad at anybody else. And it's okay, and that she's going to get through this. Even on her hard days, she is a positive person. I remember one night, all of her friends had left, and she was laying in bed, and I think it was me and her dad and her. And she looked a little sad, and we said, Paige, it's okay. It's okay to be sad. You don't have to put a front up all the time. It is okay to cry it out. And she looked at me, she goes, okay. And she started crying. And it was perfectly okay. We sat there, we talked her up. We talked to her, we listened, and then I had a little bit of time to spare, so we washed her hair, and we brushed it out, and we braided it real quick. And I remember right after she was done crying, she taught me something spectacular. She looked at me and she goes, okay, we're gonna get better. We're gonna get out of this bed tomorrow. We're gonna get in this chair. I'm gonna go home. I'm going to do awesome in physical therapy, and I'm gonna do all of the things that I did before I came in here. And I was like, oh yeah, you are, for sure. And I just remember that, and her positive outlook on everything, despite what happened. Now I go home, and even though I haven't been through anything that Paige has been through, I go home, and on my bad days, I give myself a pep talk. That's one thing she taught me. I pep myself up, and as silly as that is, it works. It changes your outlook on everything, and she is so inspiring. And like I said, every single day, and every team member will say this, every time you walk into the room, it is a different atmosphere. She's smiling. She changes your mood automatically. She makes you laugh. She has the funniest jokes. And she's also taught me a few dance moves, for sure. Her love for ocean life, despite all of this, is also spectacular. And I can honestly say that I'm so honored to have been a part of her care and to have bonded with her and her family. And I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of that. And I think everyone would say that we are so proud of Paige and how far she has come. And yesterday, I walked into her room to say goodbye to her, and she said, I have a surprise for you. And I said, okay. And I walked up to her, and she said, come closer. And I got a little closer, and she stood up all by herself, and she hugged me. And that is my favorite part. It's what makes being a nurse and going to work so incredibly worth it, even on the hard days. And I think we can all say we love Paige, and she's such an amazing girl, and we are so incredibly proud of her.
Charlie Winter, I'm Paige Winter's dad. First off, I think she loves all of you. I'm going to be a little sporadic when I talk here. A couple things I'm going to talk about. The first thing I wanted to say is Paige is here, and it's not one person that got Paige to where she is. Paige is a tough thing. You're going to see her, talk to her, and you'll see. She's got this strength about her. I've known her 17 years. I don't know where she got it from. She's teaching me more than I think I've ever taught her. There's a very long chain of events that happen. If one of those links in that chain got taken out, Paige wouldn't be here. And that's no good. But yeah, she is here. She's tough, and she's got a lot of things to show a lot of people, and she's going to. She's an amazing woman, and You'll see. So, I haven't seen any news broadcasts. I haven't read a whole lot. I've been told a couple things. Some of the stuff's not bad. But I'm going to kind of walk you through what really happened, just so you know. We went to the beach, went to Fort Macon. It's the second time we've gone this year. Went to Radio Island a couple weeks before that. No waves though, so we went to Fort Macon. Got a little waves, weather was nice. It was good. It was just after noon, and the kids decided they're gonna go out in the water and they're gonna play. And I said, that's great, it's perfect. I'm gonna sit right here and do nothing. But they were out there playing, they were ways out, and I thought, you know, it'd be really funny is if I run out in the water and I scare them. I'm gonna do that. So I ran out in the water, and just before I got to them, they turned around and saw me, and I was like, ah. Missed it. And one of the kids said they're going to, you know, 15, 16, 17-year-olds out there, they're going to play mermaids. And I was like, ugh. And I turned my head, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. And right about 3 seconds after I turned my head, I heard Charlie. And I turned around, and I said, shark, Paige, get her. And I turned to where Paige was, and there was no Paige. Paige was underwater. But there was pink on the water. I saw pink. And it was moving. And it was probably from where the first set of pink was to where I dove in was probably about 5 feet. Paige was going backwards. And she was underwater. And it didn't take any seconds. It was just an immediate dad thing. I went straight to where the pink was, and I dove under, and I grabbed her. I grabbed her with my left arm, and I pulled her up over the water. And when I pulled her up, a shark came up with her, and it was a big shark. The head was, it was a big shark, and kind of thrashed a little bit, and it had just a big eye just staring at you. And I immediately just started to hit it. I read 5 times. It could have been 10. It could have been 3. It could have, I don't know. I wasn't keeping track, but I know I was hitting it, and I hit it with everything I could, and it let go. I immediately grabbed her with my right arm. I could see the damage as I was turning. I looked, and I grabbed her on her thigh, trying to stop the bleeding. I turned, and I started to run immediately back to the shore. So I just ran out there. We had the shark, and then I started running back. I did not know that the shark was at arm's length behind me, chasing us. I didn't know that until later. I also did not know that there was 2 sharks out there. I've been told that it was the length of a car. I don't know. I didn't see it. All I saw was its head, and it was impressive. As we were running back to the shore, Paige was quiet, she was calm, and she only said the word Dad. And she repeated that every few seconds, and I kept telling her that I got you. I got you. And she was so calm. And I could see the damage, and I knew it was bad. And I started to worry a little bit. And I think I might have made it maybe 10 feet to the shore, and my energy dropped. I had exerted everything I had, and I knew I was slowing down. Luckily, someone on the shore could see it. They ran out, they grabbed her, and got her up to the beach. And I went to my hands and my knees in the water. I couldn't even stand up anymore. I was totally drained. Yeah. I got on my hands and knees. I crawled up to the beach, and I grabbed her by her right hand. And I don't think I've ever told any of my children I loved them so much so many times. I wanted her to know that I loved her. I listened to every word she said, every movement of her lip, every way the wind blew her hair. Just took it all in. As I was doing that, people were just running up. Tourniquets, towels, umbrella bags. They were using everything they could. Luckily, someone walked by
that had a belt on. Just happened to be walking on the beach, had his belt. He just walked up, handed it over. Names I don't know, names I'll never know, you know. But it's just a link in a chain. 911 was contacted. At some point, I moved over to her face. I just held her face. And I just couldn't stop saying I love you. She stayed totally calm. I've been a paramedic firefighter for 15 years, and I've seen a lot of things, a lot of bad things. Paige was as calm as that cup of water. She never screamed, she never cried. She was completely calm the entire time, answering questions. I think the only thing she said was, "Can I please go to the hospital now?" She's a tough little thing. The park ranger showed up, Atlantic Beach Fire Rescue showed up. They got her packaged, we got her into the ambulance, and we took off to Carteret General Hospital because East Care was close to landing. When we got to the helipad, the medic in the back let me come in the back. I jumped in the back, started telling Paige I loved her again. She might have been getting sick of me answering the question at that point by having to say I love you back, but she did it. And she began to tell the medics in the back of the truck, "Don't be mad, sharks are good people." This was minutes after being attacked. And her focus at that moment in time was making sure that nobody was going back out to hunt a shark. East Care took off once they got there, and I zoomed over to Greenville Vidant Medical Center. And we can get into more about that, I guess, in a little bit. There's a lot of people I don't know. There's a lot of things that happened. I can't make it clear enough. It's very odd that every single thing that had to happen when it had to happen, happened. Don't know why it happened, but it happened. And she's here. She's here, and she is 17, and she'll let you know it sometimes, but she's here. There's been a lot of people who have reached out, companies, churches, fire departments, anybody and everybody has reached out for Paige. I can't thank everybody because I can't possibly remember everybody, but every thought, every prayer, everything everyone's been trying to do to help, there's nothing I can say to you right now that can possibly show how much I appreciate everything that everybody, it's not Havelock, it's not New Bern, it's not Eastern North Carolina, it's so many people across this country have helped. And I can't thank you enough for that. And Paige is alive because of Vidant Medical Center. That's why she's here. She's here because Vidant's here. And again, links in a chain. If Paige had to go farther, would she be here? I don't know. But it's something I don't want to know because I know what I know now. And I know my little girl, I have her. I have my little girl. Oh, Paige. Let's do something about Paige here. Okay. From the very first night, and the first couple conversations that we had in that first room that she was in after her first surgery, Paige continues to exceed all expectations, both with confronting her new physical challenge and having an amazing mental outlook on her future. She knows it's going to be a challenge. She knows that, but she welcomes it. She's going to take it head on in full force, and she's going to do it with a smile on her face, and she's not going to fail. She won't let herself fail. I won't let her fail. This team won't let her fail. Paige is going to do great things. Paige is destined for great things, and she's going to do great things. She has she's a just positive person as a dad. I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't be prouder of her. I couldn't be prouder of Anais. I've got some amazing daughters. some amazingly brave daughters. And proud, it's not going to work, but that's where I'm at. I don't know what her future holds. Nobody does. I don't think Paige does. She's 17. I know I'm 39. I don't think I know what my future holds, but I do know it's extremely bright. It has to be bright because someone like that, it's the only thing it can be. She's going to do great things. And she has an amazing story to tell. And she's going to tell it. When she's ready to tell it, she'll tell it. And it's amazing. And the shark took her leg, but it did not take her spirit.
Thank you very much, Charlie. At this time, we're going to share some remarks from Paige that she asked that we share with you guys. So if you can direct your attention to the TV screen, it's a message from Paige.
I want people to see that I'm doing all right, and I'm still going to be able to do all the stuff that they can do. Like, I'm going to be able to walk. I'm going to be able to write. I'm going to be able to do just kind of like everything, just same old Paigey. When I was in that water, I was like praying. I'm like, I'm 17. I got so much to do. And it's true. I have a lot to do. And I think with this situation, I can transform it into something that's not like, oh, how tragic. 17-year-old lost a leg. No, 17-year-old lost a leg and we're popping, you know? I think I could transform this into something good for me and good for sharks and good for the environment too. And that's just kind of what I really want. It's what I've wanted this whole time. And it really helps to know that I'm not alone in this situation. There are other survivors of shark bites that have been sending me some love, and that really helps. When an amputee talks to me, it's just really nice to know that, like, I have somebody who's also on the same wavelength as me. Sharks are still good people, and that's just kind of the truth. They're still so good, and they're so cool. They're pretty cool. Good people.
Please note that we will make this video available for you to use in your stories. We have content on vidanthealth.com/Paige Winter in which that video is featured. We will also have high-res versions available for download. At this time, we're going to open it up to questions. Again, I would like to ask that everyone please be very respectful. As you can imagine, this has been a very trying time. And a pretty amazing story. When you ask your questions, we have a lot of time. Again, please be respectful and identify the outlet in which you are with and who you would like to answer your question. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Rodriguez with ABC11, and this question is for Charlie. I know that you're a paramedic. What role did your training play in saving your daughter? And then I have another question. How do you think your daughter is able to keep such a positive attitude towards sharks after the tragedy that she's been through?
To answer the second part, me and Paige have different opinions of sharks. I appreciate Paige's outlook. Paige doesn't want to hurt a fly. If a fly landed on her, she would have to seriously contemplate whether she was going to swat at it or not. She's an animal lover. I don't know, but she is, and I think that's what parts of it makes Paige so amazing. Is I don't know. I don't know that anyone knows. As far as the paramedic training goes, in the water, when I turned and I could see her leg and how bad it was, I grabbed her leg right as close as I could to that femoral artery and just started squeezing. I was basically carrying her like this, squeezing and trying to keep her leg and the whole body above the water. And I was just holding it as tight as I could as I started running. That's about as far as it goes, because once I hit that beach, I was a dad. I wasn't a paramedic anymore. I was a dad. So.
How do you feel about sharks? You said you have a different opinion.
I don't want to meet it again. You know, I think Paige would be okay with that. Yeah, Paige is just a special little thing. Yes, sir.
How deep was the water where you got?
Just over waist deep. It was just over waist deep. We were out quite a ways, but it was still just over waist deep on me, and I'm not the tallest guy in town, so it wasn't too bad.
I guess when you grabbed her like an upper body, or the shark had hold of her?
I grabbed her upper body and brought her up.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Two questions. First of all, you kept saying to your daughter, see small things like tussling her hair. What were you feeling at
That's the last time I was going to see it. That's exactly what I was fearing. And you become a sponge. You just absorb as much of that moment as you possibly can. And yeah, I just wanted her to know, if she was never going to know it again, that I loved her. Yes, sir. Mhm. I was never deployed. I was in when 9/11 happened, but I was not deployed. All the trauma and all the shootings and wrecks and things like this have all happened as a paramedic. And this was a different kind of injury. It was devastating. Yeah, it was a bad injury. It would be in my my top list. Yes, sir. I didn't know. Yes, sir. I didn't see it. They told me that once I got back, and then when I looked out on the water, you could see that there was 2 sharks out there. It wouldn't have changed anything, because I was getting to shore as fast as I could. It didn't change anything. I think that's what I've been told. I don't know for sure. I'm most certainly not a shark expert. I don't know. I know it was a shark, it had teeth, and it was big. So.
Question for the doctors. Obviously, shark attacks, one of those things like what you talked about, so she got her first experience with a shark attack, and just what do you guys, what went through your mind right when you saw you got a shark attack?
Well, shark attack has been an interest of mine for 20 years, and so when I hear of a shark attack, I have that basic level of interest, but obviously I want to, as trauma medical director, I want to, my first and foremost concern is the patient and making sure the trauma center performs at the functionality that we're trained to do. We see about 2 or 3 a year here. It's rare that they are this severe. The last attack of this severity that I can recall was in 2001 when a few people lost their lives in the northern Outer Banks. But in terms of the bites that we see here on an annual basis, Dr. Ziri and I have both taken care of shark attack victims before, most notably a very significant wound 2 years ago to the lower extremity as well. But I have not seen a wound of this severity ever. The tissue destruction and loss was, and I don't want to go into greater detail, profound, and the decision of whether or not to amputate an extremity can be a very, very significant decision. But in this case, it was intuitive and evident what operation needed to occur.
And with her hands, obviously the shark got hold of her leg. How did you guys surmise her hands down there? Charlie, you know how her hands got injured?
I do. And I don't want to say, I'll let her tell her story, but when she was under the water, she was trying to force the shark's mouth open, and I think that's what we figured out is what happened. So she was trying to open the mouth, and no go. She is. She's a very amazing little girl.
Went to the hospital when they had the drama play, and they went after her, found out a little bit about her.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't be an actress, and that might be
Oh, sure.
obviously, she can still do that.
Oh, yeah, she's going to do that, too. And there's nothing changed with Paige, I can assure you. It's still Paige. It's like I said, it took her leg, didn't take her spirit. And it might have even given it a shot in the arm, because she's got a lot of it to show.
It's just the point where being an athlete, because obviously being an actor, she
Mm-hmm.
she wants to do it. She can probably have to do that.
Yeah, there's nothing. I've actually already talked to her drama teacher. Yeah, he's a good guy, and the play's starting next year, and she'll be there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. She owes me.
Do you have any message share with other fathers?
I don't know if I have a message. I respect all dads. It's a special thing to be, it's a special club to be a part of. Love your kids. Love your kids. That's all I got for you.
And for some of the places for me was like a hero.
Mm.
Consider a hero or
A dad. I'm a dad. You got plenty of heroes sitting next to me. You know, you got a hero sitting in a hospital room right now. That's the heroes.
Brianna, for you, I'd say that you probably do obviously, you said you learned a lot of things.
I did.
Was there any, I know as a nurse, you like to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you do about
Honestly, not really different. It was more of, as a nurse, you're not just treating wounds, you're treating the person. And Paige made it so easy, the way, just her atmosphere of everything, the way you walk into a room, like I said, she's constantly happy, and the jokes that she makes it so easy to bond with her. And I have to say, she's one of my favorites, for sure.
Yes, sir.
That's terrifying. You guys are way scarier than a shark. No, you know, I'm glad. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a couple things that were a little off, you know, but I think that goes back to just everyone, the support and just the support for Paige. I think is what it is. That's why I look at it. You know, there's so much interest behind Paige, and there should be, because I'm telling you, you're going to see, you ain't seen nothing yet.
What do you want people to know about how you
There's nothing's changed. I'm dad, she's my daughter, and we're gonna keep doing this thing just like we've done the last 17 years, and we're gonna do it for 17 years on from this. We're just gonna keep on swimming.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh. Sure, yeah. So I actually have two shirts like this. I actually wore my other one yesterday. I was given it about a week ago. It's shirts for Paige, and I can stand up and show you, but you got a shark over here, and I'm assuming that's Paige. She's got a pretty cool little leg over here. And then,
Shark are still good people.
And it also says page 1, sharks 0. Yes, ma'am.
So the healthcare professionals, based on your experience, do you know what kind of shark it is?
I have suspicions, but it would be speculative, having seen a number of attacks on the Outer Banks, knowing the depth of the water, the distance from the shore, and the manner in which this attack occurred. I would suggest this was a bull shark. We always communicate our findings and our information with the International Shark Attack File, which is housed at the University of Florida. And I've had the opportunity to speak to the experts there at times over the years, and they would assimilate all the data that we have from this attack, from the bite radius to if we found a tooth in the flesh, that sort of thing, and then they would give us their best definitive answer. But sharks attack in a variety of manners, and one method is what is called hit and run, where it's probably mistaken identity in a little deeper water. Great white sharks are notorious for that, but in that instance, typically the shark attacks and then lets go. The second manner is called a bump and bite attack, which is what I think this was. And bump and bite attacks are where a shark actually bumps or encounters the swimmer or the person in the water and then makes a definitive attack, not in mistaken identity, but actually as the human as prey. It's an unprovoked attack, and the scenario that I heard where there is probably an attack that was relative to seeing Paige as prey, and then the repeated attempts to follow and perhaps attack again is relatively characteristic of a bull shark.
Was there any evidence in her wounds that you are going to be sending, or mentioning maybe a tooth or something like that?
Well, again, for the sake of her father, I don't want to go into too much detail, but there are characteristically tooth patterns on bone that can be very helpful in identifying a shark, and I know that was present in this case. And I honestly do not know where we were at for sake of confidentiality in conveying the information and the circumstances of the attack to the ISAF to get identification.
Thank you.
And I'm Tyler Flex, I'm the Daily Reflector, and this question is for Charlie and for the doctors as well.
I would say live your life. I don't want Paige to be stuck in a room. I don't think anyone else wants to be stuck in a room. You got to live your life. Paige is.
Recognize that the lifetime risk of dying of a shark attack is 1 in 3.7 million, whereas the lifetime risk of dying in an automobile crash is 1 in 84. So these are extraordinarily rare events. There were 66 unprovoked attacks in the world in 2018, and there were only 4 fatalities worldwide. And you think about the millions and millions of swimmers and surfers and the literally hundreds of millions of sharks in the water, it emphasizes what an extremely rare event this is. And I think that in and of itself recommends that we all continue to live our lives and get in the water, because the overwhelming odds are that you're not going to encounter a shark, you're not going to get attacked by a shark, and if you do get bitten, that you will survive. My kids certainly asked me this. I was in the water at the Outer Banks at the very moment that Paige was attacked with my children, and I would advise get in the water.
And real quickly, Dolly, the follow-up to that is, what do you think were some of the critical factors to Paige's survival? Because it looks like everything happened within a matter of minutes, and the response was rapid.
I would say two elements: dad, tourniquet. Dad and tourniquet. We train pre-hospital providers, and frankly, through what's called the Stop the Bleed campaign, we are teaching lay personnel from TSA to police officers to firefighters how to place tourniquets. So the tourniquet application saved Paige's life, and certainly, you know, someone referred to us as heroes. We're just doctors that did our job, and frankly, the hero is her father and the patient, Paige.
Charlie, how much of this how much have you mentioned the leak in the chain? I think that's great, you know, it's a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you paid for anything, but how much have you thought?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Things just seem to happen in a very odd way, because if one of those links had taken out, she'd be gone. What if somebody hadn't been walking by with a belt? What's the odds of that? What if East Care wasn't available because they were on another call? You know, what if? You know, it makes you sit and you think. And I've done a lot of sitting. I've done a lot of thinking. Yes, sir. They were. Mm-hmm. 15. There was a 7-year-old, a 15-year-old, another 15-year-old, 17-year-old. We were talking friends and stuff. Yeah, Nias, 15. She immediately, when she saw Paige being attacked, grabbed a 7-year-old and pushed him to shore the second it happened. So that's what I'm saying. When I'm a proud dad, I'm a very proud dad. I've got 2. Yes, Paige is my oldest. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think she's got some significant challenges, but as her dad said, her fortitude, her personality are going to help her very significantly in overcoming those challenges. Her life is altered, obviously, but she'll recover and lead a short, productive life. She has not experienced any phantom pain, and a lot of what she is experiencing will probably hit her in the near future, but I'm confident she's gonna recover well, and she'll deal with it very well.
And we saw really quite remarkable there. What does the mental part of all of this do with the physical challenge that she's now engaged in?
I'm sure it helps. Brianna can tell you from a nursing standpoint, patients' attitudes and their approach to illness and to recovery are key. And so with her personality and her attitude, there's no question that that's going to propel her to recovery a lot quicker than most people.
She's got this.
Yes, she
She's
does.
got this.
For sure, without a doubt.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Focusing a lot on her hands and saving as much as you could. Like I said, that amputation became evident that it had to be done. When you moved on to her hands and everything, just the process of when you get a patient like that, obviously you want to save as much of the natural tissue anatomy as you can. But just tell us when you first saw her and just were able to work on her hands.
Sure. Well, Dr. Guell, my partner, took care of her initially during the first operation. I took over after that, but she had very extensive injuries, and the hand is a small area of the body, but contains a lot of structures that are very important, obviously from a functional standpoint, and so it's complex surgery, required microsurgery for reconstruction. And the first decision in response to your question is obviously whether to amputate digits or hands or whatnot. The animal, unfortunately, had already taken care of part of her hand, unfortunately, but the rest was salvageable, and it required repair and reconstruction and coverage.
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. If she had it, I didn't see it. I'm telling you, she was completely calm and still. She never did anything that made me think, no, you know, she was frightened. I think no. And it's funny when you're in those situations, you don't think about things like that. And you have this shark sitting right there, and one's chasing you. You have no idea. There was no fear. The only fear I had was that this was going to be my last few moments with my little girl, and that's the only fear that there was. Yeah.
It's interesting when you mentioned when you pulled her up from under the water, you got hold of her. No scream, no screaming out.
No.
But you had to think that hurt.
Oh, it had to have hurt, but she wasn't letting me know. She just was quiet as I was doing, you know. And all the way back to shore, there was no screaming, there was no yelling. It was just Dad, Dad. I don't know where she gets it, you know. She's a tough thing.
Yes, she lost the fourth and fifth digits on her left hand, the ring and small fingers on her left.
And the right hand was also injured with the repair back?
Yes, I was significantly injured. All her tendons in her hands were cut on the right hand. Many of her nerves were cut, some of her arteries were cut, and she obviously had lacerations on both the extensor and flexor surfaces, and so very complex injuries. I would add that it was these lacerations were surgical. Those teeth are very, very sharp. It looks like there was a knife taken to them.
Does she have use of her hands, or is it just sort of paralyzed?
Well, at this point, it's very early in her recovery. Hand injuries are complex, not only in the reconstruction, but also in the recovery. And when we look at recovery for hands, we look at months down the line, not just days and weeks, but months down the line. So like I mentioned earlier, she has a good 6 months to a year of recovery before she will gain her maximal function.
To your colleague, you talked about sometimes sharks leave behind every follow-up to the shark. The international shark is going to be able to analyze?
I can't answer that because we haven't interacted with them yet, to my knowledge, but I don't, you know, Dr. Garcia, my partner who was operating on her, was transmitting photos to me, and I was making it clear to her, if you find any evidence, and particularly a tooth, certainly retain it, because that would provide identification of the shark. but I don't know of anything specific that we found in the wound that has definitively identified the shark yet.
This question is for Charlie. I'm not sure if she's already home, but when is she going home and how are you feeling?
I'm going to get her home, and it's going to feel good. And she's ready to get home. She's 17. She's ready to go. She's got too many things to do. As far as going home.
Well, as I mentioned, she's probably headed to our rehabilitation center this coming week, and then she'll spend approximately a week to 2 weeks in our rehab center preparing her to go home. She will be fit for a prosthetic for her left leg, and in rehab she will learn to walk again and to regain her functionality.
Charlie, for you with patients with obviously
Paige already, she knows I'm going to be there. There's nothing she's going to have to do by herself. She's going to walk. She's going to do a little bit differently, but there's nothing she's going to have to worry about. I'm on my own. No one's here to help me. No one's here to show me. She's my girl. She's my little girl, and she's always going to be my little girl. And I'm gonna get her where she needs to go.
the doctors, they take 6 months to a year. We learn how to use your hand in a different way now, and obviously walking in a different way. Biggest keys that you guys have seen in your careers to adapting to a new way of life, due to accident.
Well, I think she'll be walking before she's using her hands. Recovery of her hand injuries is more significant, and it will be slower. A lot of that time is nerve recovery, so nerves grow back fairly slowly, and so a lot of that time will be the recovery of the nerve function.
So any last minute questions from anyone? Again, we will make the video available, and we would encourage you guys to visit vidanthealth.com/Paige Winter. Thank you for joining us. To Charlie and my colleagues, this ends our press conference. The Vidant Health communications team will be available to work with the media on additional B-roll and exterior shots. Thank you very much for coming.